Hello everyone. I wanted to make this video in response to a comment that was left on my channel today. It was in response to the video that I made yesterday, A Few Bad Men. If you haven't watched it, of course you're more than welcome to go back and watch it and hear everything that I had to say in that video. A commenter who has been watching my videos for a long time seems to have taken exception to my suggestion that once you have become a victim of domestic violence for the first time, that you should have the courage and the will to leave the relationship before it happens again, as a means to prevent the more severe assault that was featured in the video. Even though my channel is normally filled with videos that can arguably be described as advocacy for men's rights, I thought it was only fair to try and present something of a balanced perspective where I show an instance of a man pretty much clearly being in the wrong, just to show that there are times when men can be guilty. The viewer whose comment I'm going to feature in this video seems to have taken exception to that idea as well. In fact, his username would in itself be an indication of why he would never want me to sympathise with women for 1 minute. Maaaaaates takes part in MGTOW writes, Gary, you have little understanding of why both men and women stay in abusive relationships. Hint, Stockholm Syndrome. Abuse is not just physical, bones and flesh heal. It is the psychological damage which the individual will carry for the rest of their lives. I was married to, in my opinion, a covert narcissist. The damage inflicted on my daughters and I will never heal. An arm cut off will never grow back. Evil cunts like her kill and are never prosecuted. How can the courts prosecute evil who pushes a person to suicide? I am still waiting for the call, telling me the youngest has died. It will be a murder. By the way, when I contacted the Department of Child Protection, I was informed they could do nothing about psychological child abuse, because child abuse is legal if a woman does it. She is now an adult with an eating disorder due to abuse and, last I heard, a drug addict. Brainwashing a child to hate their father so they will refuse to see the father is child alienation. Psychologists also call it child abuse. The Government of Australia has encouraged the abuse of children through its policies. The politicians have a lot of blood on their hands. Well, thank you, Einstein, for bringing me up to speed on all the things that I had no idea about. Now, when I read this comment, before I responded in any way, I really wanted some validation on a couple of things. The main thing I wanted to know was, did your child suicide? Because on reading his comment, I couldn't help get this sense that he was trying to give people the impression of things that weren't true. So, just to make sure that I got his attention, I said, say yes so that I can be dissuaded from tearing you a new asshole. Sure enough, I got his attention not long afterwards. Not yet. As far as I am aware, the youngest still lives. I raised the eldest daughter as a single father. Your knowledge about abuse, kids raised in abusive environment, being trained to become abusers or trained to be the abused is seriously lacking. The abuser in the vid screams overt narcissist. The woman torn down a small piece at a time over many years, maybe by her family too. Where were they at the court? So tear me a new asshole? Bring it. You might not like the response. When I say evil cunts like her, I was talking about the ex-wife, not the woman in the vid. Okay, so let's address your first comment. Gary, you have little understanding of why both men and women stay in abusive relationships. Hint, Stockholm Syndrome. So just quickly for those of you who may not know what Stockholm Syndrome is, feelings of trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by a victim towards a captor. So on the issue of Stockholm Syndrome, at 10 minutes 23 in the video,
they may be being abused by the same partner time and time again. And we will work very hard to break that.
And of course, here's a message to women that can help stop domestic violence. Put your feelings of love for the person aside. Once a beater, always a beater. All the evidence is there that if they do it once, they'll do it again, no matter how much they say they're sorry. There's a great saying out there that I think is really true. Shame me once, shame on you. Shame me twice, shame on me. So, whilst not directly using the term Stockholm Syndrome, I'm identifying the sentiments behind it and why an effort needs to be made on the part of the victim to overcome those feelings. How is that showing little understanding of it? I'm focusing directly in on it and then putting forward the suggestion as to what I think is the best way to combat it. There's two other points in the video in particular where the natural feelings one would have that would result in Stockholm Syndrome are spelled out in plain English.
Sabrina has reported to the police in the past. Unfortunately, she hasn't supported police, but we've got to remember these people love the perpetrators.
And
him not being here is weird, but at the same time it's not. I can't get used to it because my mind still remembers the nice part of him, and then there's the other half of him.
The
You know?
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, and I suppose, if you like, I'm grieving the loss of the nice him.
okay, so my interpretation of the commentary you make directly after you make me aware of Stockholm Syndrome suggests that you view yourself as a victim of it yourself. I purposefully asked you if your child had suicided so that I could confirm that this next part was nothing more than melodramatic projection. So I think what we really need here is some appropriate background music. Abuse is not just physical, bones and flesh heal. It is the psychological damage which the individual will carry for the rest of their lives. I was married to, in my opinion, a covert narcissist. The damage inflicted to my daughters and I will never heal. An arm cut off will never grow back. Evil cunts like her kill and are never prosecuted. How can the courts prosecute evil who pushes a person to suicide? I am still waiting for the call telling me the youngest has died. It will be a murder. I mean, no one's died, have they? Your children haven't suicided, have they? Nobody's arm's been cut off, has it? Your ex-wife hasn't killed anyone, has she? Put into the most basic terms, you're full of shit. And at this point, you might well be thinking, well, he hasn't been through it, he doesn't understand, but we'll come to that. By the way, when I contacted the Department of Child Protection, I was informed they could do nothing about psychological child abuse because child abuse is legal if a woman does it. She is now an adult with an eating disorder due to abuse and, last I heard, a drug addict. Brainwashing a child to hate their father so they will refuse to see the father is child alienation. Psychologists also call it child abuse. The government of Australia has encouraged the abuse of children through its policies. The politicians have a lot of blood on their hands. Firstly, I don't know where you get the idea that docs, or what the Americans call CPS, are going to accept that there's evidence of psychological child abuse on your say-so. That has to be established in court by expert witnesses. Secondly, bad-mouthing your daughter publicly by labelling her as a probable drug addict just so that you can lay blame at her mother's feet is perhaps something you should have thought about saying before you said it. You know, it's probably the second stupidest thing that you've said this week, next to telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. The rest of what you say about parents, usually mothers, manipulating, coercing and priming children to hate their fathers is indeed parental alienation. And there's decades of evidence to prove that it is psychologically abusive. So on that score, you're 100% correct. How do I know? Well, like I said before, we'll come to that. In your second comment, you say, I raised the eldest daughter as a single father. You know what you sound like there? You sound like one of those single mothers who wears it like a badge of honour. I raised my child as a single parent. I mean, what do you want, a fucking testimonial dinner for doing what you're actually supposed to do when you're a parent? And finally, towards the end, you say, so tear me a new arsehole? Bring it. You might not like the response. Well, you do sound pretty sure of yourself. So let's hear your final allegation against me. Your knowledge about kids raised in abusive environments being trained to become abusers or trained to be the abused is seriously lacking. So I've set up a little desk here so we can have a quick look at what I don't know about parental alienation. What we have here is a year and a half's worth of family court documents where she's trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Another couple of years worth of documents where she's trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Then we've got another couple of years worth of documents where she's trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Of course, then we've got another year or two of court documents where she's trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Another year and a half of her trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Another year of her trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Well, what do we have here? Another year and a half of her trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. Another year of her trying to stop me having anything to do with my child. And fucking tell me that I don't know about parental alienation. In preparing of my affidavit material to go to trial, I referenced material written by Dr. Richard Warshak, arguably one of the world's leading experts on the subject of parental alienation. I drew from his descriptions of what constitutes parental alienation and then related them directly back to the claims made in the mother's affidavits and my child's behaviours as recorded by the contact centre reports. You know, mate, I wouldn't mind $1 for every day I spent studying parental alienation. I also conducted a contravention trial on my own without legal representation and won. So your allegation that I have little understanding or comprehension of these issues is utterly false. Do you think that I'm not sympathetic to how you feel? I've lost count of the nights of emotional torment where I couldn't sleep, the suicidal thoughts, the feelings of powerlessness and helplessness, the emotional torment of being treated in court like a second-class parent because you weren't the mother, because you didn't have a vagina, the countless times of her being caught in court lying, manipulating, orchestrating, only to have her not even get so much as a slap on the wrist for it. But through all of that, I'll tell you something that I'm really happy about. I'm happy that I came out of the other side of it, not just hating every woman or mistrusting every woman based on the actions of my ex. I'm not a MGTOW. I can understand why that's a choice that they make to protect themselves, but I'm not one myself. How could I be? I've been with the gorgeous Mrs. Orsum for 10 years now. In my videos, I'm critical. I'm not bitter. I haven't lost my sense of reason where I can't look at things objectively anymore. I mean, listen to this clown, Han Lockhart. Gary is on my beware list. I've seen some like him before. I was getting suspicious when he advocated it was okay to beat up a man on the mere accusation of being a pedophile from a kid. No one should be attacked on an accusation. I bet he wouldn't say the same if it had been a woman accused. He could switch at a moment's notice from anti-feminist to pro-feminist. Watch him. Oh, come on, man. You need to remind us men that we can be bad. We know that men can be bad. We men know men. Society tells us all the time. The issue here is to understand imbalance with women in society today. I don't need videos telling me what I already know about reality. Unnecessary video, thumbs down, and I most certainly won't donate money to this, mate. Jesus, one video of an alternate reality and you start menstruating. The vids I make about the feminazi are also a reality. Should I not make them? That's what you said, that you don't need videos telling you what you already know about reality. Or do you only want to hear the reality that you're comfortable with? Echo, chamber. And you'll slag me out if I don't conform to your expectations. Don't have a miscarriage. I'll be back onto an anti-feminist video tomorrow. Beware list? Could switch at any moment? Brother, cut back on the weed. It's making you paranoid. Insult your subscribers for keeping you in check? You need to deflate that head a little, pal. Poor pedal. Listen to yourself talk like you're my keeper, and you talk about my ego. Classic. Mate, I'm always happy to have one less, two less retarded subscribers if that's how you feel.